Right then. Welcome, Sin is here, and we have our work session. It's now 5:32, so we're just gonna jump on in here and begin. Work session, okay, I'm gonna read this off. We have a shared vision in Fern Ridge School District, provide excellence for every student so that each will reach their greatest potential. Thank you to the members of the public who have joined us. As a reminder, school board meetings and work sessions are meetings of the board held in public, providing an opportunity to observe the board's discussion and actions. In an effort to conduct official board business, we ask that the audience be respectful and refrain from questions, comments, and unnecessary noise while the board conducts the meeting. Please also note that all board meetings are live streamed and posted on the school board area of the website. And tonight we'll talk a little bit about the superintendent evaluation, our targeted feedback survey, and we'll turn it over to Kristen Ross.
Okay, thank you. Nice to see everybody. We'll go ahead and maybe share the PowerPoint for a minute first. Thank you. So, and we can go on to the second, sorry. So yes, so tonight we're gonna go over the target feedback survey. We're gonna pick the standards that you want to survey, and then with as much time as we have left, we will do crucial conversations. I know you all had homework. And we will go through that piece. Thank you for doing some prep for the targeted feedback survey that will hopefully speed our conversation. And then we can go ahead and move on. So, and I know that this got sent to you in advance. This is what the standards look like and who gets surveyed. So I know that you had this. Staff gets surveyed for almost everything. As you notice down there, policy, governance, and advocacy don't get surveyed at all. So we're gonna have to talk through this and adjust a little bit for standard 8. The reason that policy, governance, and advocacy don't get surveyed is because that's really sort of the board's touch with respect to that standard. There's not a lot of questions that we ask of community and staff. That's something that the board has pretty direct knowledge of, so we don't have that as a targeted feedback survey standard. The rest of those standards, we have questions for staff. And 4 of those standards, we have questions for community. So we don't craft questions for community for standards 4, 6, and 7, as you can see by those standards and as you read them in the booklet. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory why there wouldn't be a lot of questions for community or why community wouldn't have a ton of knowledge of that work. So with that in mind, and I know you got that in advance, most of you have engaged with that document. I know Andrea, we'll go ahead and talk through your preferences. We'll go ahead and now if you want to switch over to the.
Oh, yep.
Thank you. Now we're going to talk about who to survey, selecting those standards. Okay, great. So now we're going to look at what you filled out in that Google Doc. Sorry, no worries.
We have this, that's the upper window and it doesn't let me get up there.
Oh, you got this great.
There we go. There
we go. So what I asked you to do, and in fact, Gary sent out this great Google Doc that asked you to rank your preferences in the standards as to what you wanted to go out and survey. We will do 3 standards. That's because we don't want to give folks survey overload. This turns into between 15 and 17 questions, depending on which standards you survey. More than that, and we find that people don't really give it a lot of thought when they're completing the survey. And then there are two open-ended questions at the end. One is about, you know, in your experience with the superintendent, what's going really well, in your experience with the superintendent, what could be improved, and then we sort of take that qualitative data and pull out themes and present to you those themes. As you know, we've gone over this before, folks take this survey confidentially and anonymously, so I don't have any of that information either. So going through what we have here, and Andrea, I'll ask you to just weigh in on what your thoughts are. Unless you wanna like pop into that document and have access to it right now, you don't have to at all, but so everybody weighed in, and I know Kathleen, you put your 1, 2, and 3 here, which is great because that's what we're doing. No, that's totally fine. We're picking top 3, so that's totally fine. I was just doing sort of a cursory look through this to see where preferences were clustering. What I want to make sure that we do is look at, well, the first cluster I noticed of high preferences was standard 5. So that looks like communication and community relations. And Andrea, I don't know if you had a chance to look at this, if you had thoughts about standard 5 that you wanted to weigh in on.
So I tried to mark this spreadsheet, but for some reason I didn't have access. I didn't have right access to it.
Okay.
I have no idea why. So basically, I really am open to getting information on anything that others feel are that they can't speak to without getting input. Although I do feel like I have a very strong feeling about the number 7, financial management. I don't feel like it looks like Kathleen has some concerns, but I don't. But even that, I would feel fine if that's what we decided on. I do not feel like number 6 or well, obviously number 8. But I'm really open to whatever any other people feel they need input on.
I don't say I would have problems with it, it's just we were ranking our 3 most important.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. What I meant was I feel like I understand Gary's financial management so that I don't need input, but if others feel that they need it, then that is fine.
And like 7 ranks kind of lower as far as preferences for most people that filled this out. Standard 5 is the one that, at least for top choices, 2 folks have ranked it their top choice. 1 was second choice, and then 1 was 5th choice. So just looking at where the board is kind of leaning as far as, you know, where preferences are clustering, that's what I looked at. That's what caught my eye first. And so wanted to bring that up for discussion. That is also a standard where both community and staff would be surveyed. Yeah.
I just want to speak to this real quick. One of the main reasons I went financial is because it's a bond year. So
Okay.
there's a lot of money moving hands, there's a lot of different working parts, and nothing against Gary and how he operates our money. But to me, in a bond year, that would be something to keep our eyes on, is why I picked that.
Sure.
If that helps, Andrea, sorry.
You know, Kathleen, I'm sorry. I did not mean, I didn't mean to put you on the defensive.
at
I
all.
really didn't choose my words appropriately. I apologize.
My train of thinking as to why I picked that.
And now that you've explained it, I totally get it. So like I said, I'm open to, I do feel like, we should probably, get information on number 5 because, like you, Kristen, I see that it is clearly, something that people are interested in. I'm done with that.
Okay, so I want to put that out there as sort of the first one that looks, just in general or on average, highly ranked. The other one that stood out to me as, sort of second highly ranked was number 3. Inclusive district culture. I didn't do any numerical analysis on that. This is just me looking at this, but that ranks first, 4th and 3rd. And that one is also a question that would go out to staff and community. So that was another one that looked to me like, folks were interested in that, for those that ranked that. So that's another one to maybe think about as a board. I'm leaving out number 8. Lisa, I know that made your top 3. So that might be something you want to consider shifting your second priority. Maybe your 3rd priority now becomes your second, and then that would be number 2. Which then would be another one that had some high rankings in it. It's 7 for one of you, and then Lisa, if we shifted your second ranking in number 8 and took that out, then your 3rd ranking would be in standard number 2. That would become your second ranking, and then it would be 1st for one of you.
I would put that as my 4th.
That would put it as your 4th, okay. So that is another one. Let's see, that one is number 2.
Also both.
That one is also staff and community. So those are kind of, I mean, this is all up to you, but as somebody who's just looking at what you are looking at and where your preferences are kind of leaning, it looks to me as a board, like number 5, number 3, and number 2. But I'll put it out to you now to discuss, because this is a consensus thing, obviously. Again, all of these are community and staff, which some boards find valuable to ensure that both community and staff can be surveyed. And then just, in consideration of really the targeted feedback survey it is one piece of information. It is not the evaluation, right? Like, it is information you'll get and take into consideration as you do the evaluation. But it's just what additional information, what do we want to know from staff and community that we don't have direct access to, right? That's the important thing, because you don't have direct access to the daily workings of the superintendent. So where would we like to fill in gaps as far as our knowledge? And so that's really what we're thinking about. And so if you look at, as you look at what each other is saying on this, what standards now stand out to you as, yeah, this is what we would like more information on? And are those sort of top leading standards the right ones for you?
Kind of the way I looked at it when I did mine was that, how much education does either staff or the public need to be able to actually give a good answers about some of these things. So like financial management, the average citizen doesn't really know how the finances work. So they're not going to really have a great understanding of that.
And the community is not surveyed in standard 7, that's just staff.
Right, but
Yeah.
even the staff, I mean, some staff, like the building principals probably know really well. But really, I don't know how much, they know about their own budgets, but as far as the overall budget, they probably have a general knowledge, but that's why I looked at things, at least
Sure.
how much education.
I think it's important to have like skin in the game though, like you're in the building, you can see what's getting money and what's not getting money. I don't think you need to have an overall knowledge of how Gary manages the money, but you can be like the science lab went forever without anything. So like as a teacher in the middle school, I'd be like, science lab needs some love, like that goes under financial management. So I think that I agree with you, but I think at the same, that staff piece is important because they're boots on the ground. Like, as a science teacher, I need this to happen, or I would love this to happen. Thumbs up, I appreciate your point, but on the other flip side. I didn't do inclusivity, number 3, because I feel like our district actually does that really well. So I didn't think that was really something that we needed to look at. All the different clubs and all the stuff that we have offering, but that's just, I'm fine if that's what everyone wants to do, but that's just kind of my piece of it. I think we do that really well as a district, so. Didn't hit my top one.
I think number 3, I look at it more from the not necessarily what we perceive our leaders are doing, but more how we are perceived. So the community, the student body, you know, how do they perceive? Do they feel inclusive? Do we address all their needs? So that's how I look at it, why mine is a number 1, because we need to be able to have everyone have their voices be heard. Not assume that they're being heard, but really dial that in, so.
Would you like a sample question from standard 3? Like, I can't give you everything, right, but like what it, yeah, like what it asks. One of the questions is, our superintendent ensures equitable access to safe and nurturing schools, and then they rank it like always, most of the time, sometimes never. I don't know.
Is there a description of what a safe and nurturing school is?
There's not like descriptions for each of these things.
Okay.
And like, I can give you a description for the financial one as well, like the kinds of things that are asked. Our superintendent uses feedback from staff in developing a proposed budget. That would be one in standard 7.
I could see how the knowledge was key on seriously. I could see the knowledge.
So at that
being
level,
That would be something.
it's pretty, you know,
Not the majority.
our goal is to touch on what staff would have knowledge of,
Mhm.
and it's pretty broad.
Okay. We have to make a motion? We just start.
Consensus?
Consensus, yeah?
Yeah, we won't vote in the work
Yeah.
session, let's discuss and
Yeah.
try to agree. What I hear is 5, 3, and 2, but could also, for sure, 5 and 3, and maybe there's some.
5, 3, and 2.
5, 3, and 2. I see a lot of nods.
I mean, they were my top 3, so I'm fine with it.
You're finally getting what you want, Mark.
Andrea, is that okay with you? 5, 3, and 2?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. We'll put that down. And then the next question is who to survey. Now, I don't need names because I'm gonna get names from our district, or I'm gonna get, well, let's talk about it first, and then we'll talk about how I get contact info. So, so now we talk about who to survey. So, for staff, we usually, start with, we want folks who have knowledge of the superintendent's work, right? There's a reason that we don't put just a link on the district website and say anybody who wants to fill this out can fill this out, because we want really quality information back. And that's why it's targeted. We want folks who can answer the questions and not fill in don't know most of the time, because we don't want a ton of don't knows, and we want good quality information. And so what we see for staff generally starts out with the superintendent's direct reports, like those are almost always included. And then we go from there, and I would encourage you to also, you know, include Gary in this conversation as part of like, how do you build this list? Because then what we find is, you know, sometimes there are committees, there are staff committees or folks that, you know, are other than direct reports who work with the superintendent directly, advisory committees or other groups that are made of teachers or classified or other folks who have knowledge of his work, that then we make a group of staff. I get contact information, I send that out to staff. I would ask that you build that group of no more than 40 people. That is because we will not get 100% participation. That leaves a good, you know, chunk of folks who can drop off, but we would still get good information back. Also because I will be gathering all the qualitative information, and if I do that on 100 people, that will take a really long time, and you don't wanna pay for all that, but also, it's just, you're not gonna get a ton of new information at a certain point, like, 40 people is generally okay.
40 people that are just staff.
The staff one, yeah, I would say the same thing for community. Now, if you don't have 40 people, that's also fine. I would say that's a max. Same thing with community. We also want, community folks that are, and this is again where like, your superintendent weighs in heavily on this as well, like who know your superintendent's work. And that, again, advisory committees, sometimes we see budget committee members, sometimes we see other kinds of advisory committees, sometimes we see like, other, community agencies or groups like that are outside of the district, we see families. And other folks who, this varies widely depending on the district, other folks who have worked with the superintendent directly. And so that's what we see for community.
So you actually do want groups and not individual people?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends, there could be like, hey, I worked with this committee and this was all families. Or, I'm super active in like with the Rotary or the city or, something like that, and we could survey those people or, additionally, it depends on.
So what's the best way do you recommend to develop this list? Like, I create it, board members send me who they suggest.
No, I said we do that right now.
Okay.
Yeah. But I leave with a direction and then I will get contact info from you all.
Okay.
Yeah.
We start with staff, or
Let's start with staff. That tends to be easier.
leadership teams.
Okay. Is that direct reports plus, or what is that?
Building has one, correct?
I don't know that. I don't know if they call them that. Each
Building
building.
and principals probably.
No.
Direct report.
You're talking about, she's talking about like an individual's building leadership team that works on their internal issue.
Okay.
Yeah, like for instance, in the middle school, you had PBIS or leadership, you had to be on one of the two committees. So there should be like 10-ish people per building.
Again, I don't know, those folks. Well, I don't think each building has has something titled leadership committee.
Well, no, not quotes leadership, but something to that.
They could, but they don't report to me. I mean,
Okay.
it's just an internal.
Okay.
But it is staff members, because there has to be a staff member for each group. So at the high school and the middle school, there are definitely those groups. I don't know about the elementary schools.
Yeah, and they could all have something titled leader, this / site council / ESTA team / something. They all have a group, but again, I don't know if that's what you're looking for. They're not something I engage with. I don't engage with the building's leadership
Okay.
committees.
Okay. We want to make sure that, well, first of all, is direct reports a given? Like, do we all think that's fair?
But we need to define that for folks.
Yeah.
Folks who report directly to you, that you supervise.
Right,
And
and
administrators.
those committees definitely do not. So.
Okay, but like, as far as who we're surveying, are we saying first and foremost direct reports? Like, can I?
I mean, I really, they're the people I work with.
I actually would.
I would say no also,
You would say no, not direct reports?
No.
Why is that?
because I think that skews the data.
And how do you?
If you're just direct reporting to Gary, then.
Well, not just direct reports. I mean,
No,
they include
as a.
Administrators.
Primarily,
The administrators, so principals, vice principals, and then this is my vision, this would be union representation, president, reps for the buildings. They're gonna have a better knowledge of how Gary works than.
Technology, facilities, the different.
I understand that, but I feel like if I'm giving a report on my boss, it's gonna be skewed towards what the boss wants me to say.
No, I
rather
don't think
than-
so. I think it's an opportunity for them to be honest. I mean, it's
Anonymous, right?
anonymous. Yeah, they're not.
Anonymous.
This would be a chance for somebody, if there was a building principal that had a lot of issues with the superintendent, this would be the right opportunity to share those issues. I mean, that's.
Is the survey asking for positions or
No.
titles?
Survey does not ask for any identifiable information at all. There's no way to know who took it.
No.
No. I administer it. You never see the data. I send out a whole thing about it's anonymous, it's confidential, we don't track anything, that we don't ask them where they work, what their position is, anything.
Building
We,
nothing.
no building, nothing. So as a group, generally we recommend direct reports because they have the most
Personal
knowledge
knowledge.
and then expand out from there. Not as the only group, but as folks who.
I do actually understand what Catherine's saying.
Sure, yeah. I don't think we find, at least in the qualitative part of the data, I can't say how people answer, obviously, but we find in the qualitative part of the data that that folks tend to be pretty forthcoming in the open-ended responses, which leads me to believe that they are honest in their, like, in the Likert scale stuff, in the quantitative part of the data as well. So
One of the questions I did have is, because that was very, very broad to me, okay? The students, that's pretty much a easy one, and the parents. The community is gonna be harder in groups, but we can do this. But staff, I just didn't know in what kind of groups, but as we're talking about it, I can see I'm still with the leadership. Because the leadership is staff, and those are who I would be targeting for the staff, is the staff members of the leadership teams.
in buildings, I don't know what your structure looks like. So
We're not
building,
evaluating the leadership team, we're evaluating Gary.
Right, and then that person, let's just take Bob Jones at the high school. He's the staff member. He's a staff member that is in charge of the leadership for the high school team. Right?
So you're talking about two different things for me, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the principal and the vice principal and those type of leaders. Okay, I'm sorry,
I mean, those are good, but that's not what I'm talking about.
okay, then never mind.
so beyond direct reports, which staff members seem like the right? Then, are we talking about building principals? I'm,
So direct report, in my opinion, that's just a term that we don't use here. for direct
okay,
report.
I just mean people who Gary supervises.
So that'd be administrators.
Okay, so administrators, right. And then who beyond that? That's where we are now.
Well, I mean, if you want to supervise, so I supervise. I only supervise 5 administrators,
Okay,
but we have 2 assistant principals that are
Mhm.
supervised by there. So I don't know if we want to include them, so building principal from each, and then our district sped director, and Miss Marshall, so there's 6. If we included the vice principals, that's 8. Directors, I supervise the director of tech, the director of facilities, I supervise Quanah, I supervise Bree. I supervise some classified staff here at the district office, like our data services person, Becky. So I would imagine between those,
What about the bus people and foods?
I mean, I don't supervise them, I would kind of consider them maybe community or outside organizations. So that could be a possibility, Chartwell's and First Student, I don't know if you typically, people we engage with outside.
yeah, absolutely.
So I would not necessarily, I probably wouldn't include those in staff. So people I supervise, that could easily get to 15, like direct report folks.
Okay,
So that leaves 25-ish of
Yeah.
other people.
right. So then we've got other folks that engage with the superintendent but aren't necessarily supervised.
I think the unions would be a good one. I mean, they're,
Union leaders.
unions have an issue with superintendent, they're gonna share it in this kind of thing. So,
Mhm.
that might be 3 in each classified and certified.
Okay, union leaders. Other folks, are there any like committees or advisory committees or anybody else that
I run, as far as the board knows, the committees I run our new employee committee. So I meet with them in a week in August and then engage with them every other month, all of our new employees throughout the year. If they want to engage with any of them. I run our technology committee, I run our key communicators committee. There's
It's gonna be good to target some new employees, especially if they came from another district.
New employee committee,
Well, they came from somebody from there, and not, I mean, all of the new employees, but at least one or two, and maybe that came from another district, so they have some experience. If it's a brand new teacher, they're not gonna have any, and they're not, I mean, they're gonna know what they've had since September,
Not a comparison.
but not a comparison to what how other superintendents might operate.
We have around 10 new certified staff and probably half of them are brand new and half of them have experience. So we'll get another 5 in there.
Okay. Other folks,
And how about actual staff, teachers?
All the union people are all teachers or IAs.
Yeah, new employees will be our teachers.
Right.
Is there like a tier of like maybe 20+ years in teaching or something like that to like get that longevity piece? Maybe
Sure.
they've been in different districts, maybe they haven't.
I mean, you can pick the 10 teachers in our district that have been here the longest.
Well, not necessarily in our district, but just as a certified teacher, the longest. Because some of them may have been in different districts
Oh.
and dabbled in different things.
Yeah, maybe we could, maybe Kwana within PERS or something could kind of pull a report or something that shows that. So you're wanting a group
What's
of,
the licensing thing? They'll tell you.
TSBC.
Thank you, yeah. Should have my licenses.
so like,
you're wanting a group of more experienced teachers.
Throwing an idea out there, maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe they've dabbled in another district. but
Especially if
they-
we're talking to new employees, it'd probably be good. You know, maybe some criteria, they've been a teacher for at least 20 and at least 10 with us or something, then that gives us new teachers and teachers that have been with us a while.
yeah, something like that. How does
Maybe
that sound?
2 from each building or something.
So there would be 2 teachers from each building.
Well, then in that group,
So that group, and
Just in that group, plus all of the other folks that were in.
we could do, you know, each building has, let's take 3, they got their 3 leadership positions. And then I think each building has 2 reps. So that could be another level if you wanted to go out and be another 8 people. 16 if you did it on the classified side, so that's gonna grow real quick.
That would actually be really good to get the classified and non-classified both sides.
Yeah, but definitely. The new employees, I can do the same thing with classified, pick a few new employees that are classified and a few longer term classified folks. We're probably getting close to
That
40.
probably is close, those seem like some good representative groups. Thoughts about that?
So in my notes, you got administrators, you got the folks I supervise at the district office. We have our union leadership, both certified and classified. We have a group of new employees, teachers, a group of new employees classified, a group of more experienced teachers, and a group of more experienced classified.
How does that sound?
And make sure that they're split up between buildings.
Right, that sounds like a really good cross-section of the district.
Okay, I'll work.
Actually quicker than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want me to compile a list and just share it directly with you, or should I share it with the board first?
Share it with me,
Okay, so I'm gonna give you these, whatever, 30 to 40 names with emails
yeah,
and,
because I actually don't want the board to see names.
oh,
Because I don't want the folks taking the survey to know that the board has seen their names.
okay. So I'll send you this list of 30 to 40 names. What about after the fact? Can we share with the board who took the survey?
We don't.
We don't, okay.
No, we have that in reason to know that.
Yeah. All right, so I will get,
Wrong.
if not, what's our kind of timeline, just so I know here?
So let's look at that. Let me see if I have, we've got the date for, let's see. Stand by. We've got the date for when we are doing so we are doing, this is we're doing, I've got your March date right in front of me. But that's more of this. We are doing soup eval on April 14th. So we need to send, this is good, we're planning well in advance, which is good. I will present that I generally present that to you that night, right? The night that we're doing the soup eval. So you come with your stuff, I present that to you, you take that into consideration as part of what we talk about. So what I need to do is close that survey at least 10 days in advance, so I'll close it, say on April 2nd. And so that means. And that means I need to open it. Like, the spring break's right in there. Let me open it on March 12th.
We got a lot of time.
Yeah,
Okay. So, sorry, I'm harping on this, but I just wanna make sure, I'll send you this list. Is it appropriate for me to tell the board, hey, we ended up with 3 certified union, 3 classified union, 4 teachers at each building, 3 EAs at each building, would give them some kind of parameters so they know, or just no info? On who?
Why do we need to know?
yeah, I think
Just
this
say
is,
your list is good name.
Okay.
yeah, I
I just
think
wanna make
that,
sure you guys are getting what you want and need.
yeah,
Small town.
yeah.
You represent that.
Yeah, I think, the closer we get to identifiable, the less likely people are gonna be super honest,
Okay.
so then we get to the community piece.
Oh, community.
Yeah, so, okay, so this is where also, we wanna make sure, that we have the same kind of conversation. This community tends to be a little different in each district because it's like, we usually start out with families, right? Like, who are the families that would have close association or good knowledge of your superintendent's work? And then what other kind of community organizations, or Gary, I think you already mentioned like for student or folks there that might be a good source of information.
I think some of our
Budget committee.
budget committee people, we have 5 budget committee people, I think they would be a good choice. I think a few people that have kids in the district or have had kids in the district that are on key communicators, like our key communicator group.
What about like, leadership roles within the PTAs?
Yeah.
Like PTA presidents?
Yeah.
And pals.
I think,
Jamie tells me all the time, I'm not a PTA, whatever, Jamie.
I'm Irish PTA.
This is kind of, I was just scratching down, city contacts, and I work with them. We've had in the past district ESSA team, there's some parents on there. First student chart wells, past budget committee members, key communicators, PTAs. I'm in a lot of bottom committees now. I could select people from. I assume we want to try to, for example, let's say I choose somebody that's on the budget committee. We don't want someone that's also a staff member. We want to make these people just.
Those, need to be different. In fact, the only identifiable question that we have on the survey is, please ensure, like, can you confirm that you are a staff member and not a community member?
Staff members can't be on the budget.
No, but there's people on the key communicators.
That's what that is.
Oh, gotcha.
And students? High school students?
Yeah, not part of the community, but there's no way to identify them as different from anybody else. So if you were wanting to pull student voice, they would just be part of the rest of it.
What about seniors?
Anybody that, I would say that anybody that has direct knowledge, right?
Some kids from leadership, maybe.
I'm gonna lean towards no on this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, really the only 2 high school kids I engage with are those 2. Unless there's a problem, then I'm engaging with them.
Right.
But I don't know good, for this kind of thing where they're wanting to give superintendent
I
feedback.
know what he
Yeah.
does, really.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I think-
Trust their answers, but.
I think student voice is probably more powerful in like, district initiatives and, strategic priorities and
Yeah.
those kinds of of things, maybe. And plus, there's no way to pull out their voices in this, you know, so like, there's no way to say, and here's what students thought,
Right.
which is often what we want, is actual student voices.
I put down TSP too, that'd probably be
Oh,
good.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
What's TSP?
TSP board.
I like our youth sports out there, K-8 that are not.
What about like someone like Tony from the ESD, something that appears?
Oh, what about, I mean, he's not from our community, but,
He's from the
He's somebody that-
maybe.
you know, engages with us a lot, our ESD superintendent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I think off of that list, I can get 30 to 40. If anybody thinks of other organizations or something like TSP that it's came up with, shoot them to me and I'll consider adding them. So I'll make it a goal of getting you these lists over winter break.
Yeah,
On this.
yeah, that's fine, we've got some time.
All right.
Am I hearing that we're not going to get any student input?
I think that's what the board decided. Not on this.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
great. Okay,
How about parents?
That's all the people on those committees are parents.
Yeah.
TSP people, budget committee, key communicators.
Because I have on here the booster club.
I wrote it on mine.
Okay,
CPA Booster Club, they're all parents.
all right, great.
I'll just tell you, I'll make sure, at least that more than half of these names that I give around community will be parents.
It will be parents. Okay.
So if I give her 35 names, I'm telling you 18 of them will at least be parents. Some of them, the ones that won't be mostly will be maybe some of the TSP leadership, city people, Tony, but all of them,
Bo,
you know, oh yeah, Bo, first student, but the budget committee, the key communicators, the PTAs, the bond people, those are all gonna be.
just not in this district.
Scott on this? Is Scott on the list?
Scott Rose, no. I mean, I could, with bond stuff,
These interactions in the past a lot too.
I'll see where I'm at with numbers, maybe.
Yeah.
What is the final number?
I mean, I would just say like no more than 40, if for whatever reason.
40 from each group.
44.
Yeah, 40 from each group.
So
If
cool.
whatever reason it's like, look, we've got 42 and these are really important to us.
Yeah.
Right, like that's,
35, that's fine too.
what?
It's 35, that's fine too.
That is
Right?
also fine, that is also fine, yeah.
Not to exceed.
Yeah.
All right, I got home.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. And then we will get that out. I'll let you know when it's out and I'm gonna bring that.
Can I ask one thing?
When I was on there,
I guess both of you, is that without seeing any names, can we see a list of the groups? Does that make sense?
So like if I choose somebody to submit a name from TSP, let you know that TSP was.
Yeah, just TSP. But I think. Okay,
Why do we need to know that, Lisa?
I just like to know.
I think, okay, I think we wanna still maintain as much confidential, we wanna ensure as much confidentiality and anonymity as possible.
Okay.
So I think, you know, but we've talked about who we wanna ask tonight, right? So I think it's totally fair to say to the board, you know, because this is a public meeting, we talked about this, like, here's who we're gonna ask. I think what I don't want to do is say, here are the groups we heard back from, because I think that gets closer to identification, right? But I think it's fine to include in the minutes or whatever from the meeting, like, here are the groups that we're gonna
And I can
ask.
tell you all, anybody we mentioned tonight, I'll at least reach out to them.
Yeah,
And do I need to ask them if they're willing to participate or just, they're, all of a sudden I'm somebody that, a mucky muck and with the city and they're just gonna get an email that they did this.
what I generally do is send an explanatory email before I just cold call them with a survey. I send them an email and I'm like, you have been identified as somebody, you know, to take this survey, here's why, here's the importance of it, and here's my contact information if you have questions about it. And then you're gonna get the survey. And sometimes I do get questions like, what is this and who are you, you know? And so, but I don't just send them the survey. That's how that usually goes. Okay. Great, thank you for that. All right, so now sort of a procedural question. It's 6:17. I like to give you a few minutes, you know, like at least 5 minutes before your 6:30. I know that we've got stuff that we wanted to do for our crucial conversations thing, but I also don't want to get us into a conversation that is really big and then end it. So I think what I would just do, I know we've got another session in March, and I will email you after this and maybe give you sort of like the rest of what to read, but what I want to do maybe is just spend the rest of the time, the next 8 minutes or whatever, asking for your, so you took the style under stress quiz, and I did have some questions that I sent out to ask you. What I would love for you to do is reflect on the style under stress quiz and what you thought of that and what that came back for you. And maybe just share with each other, like, what came back for you and what your thoughts were on that.
It didn't surprise me or my wife.
What were your results, Mark, if you're
It
willing to
surprised me or
share?
my wife.
Oh, yeah, no.
What?
I did the online one, which is the same as the book one.
Yeah.
but, so, I mean, are you talking about like how often do you move towards verbal violence or towards silence? Those two questions, I think.
Yeah, like what did it tell you? Like, what did you find out about, you know, what did it say about?
I really don't like that word violence. I think that's.
I know, yeah,
How aggressive.
Yeah,
Speaking of-
but I was definitely over sometimes. And silence was definitely closer to rarely.
Mhm.
Closer to what?
Rarely. So, and then on the one where, you know, you go through and what chapters should you probably reread?
Uh-huh,
And there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. So 6 out of the 9, I probably need to reread. Though I haven't read some of them yet. but
right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I
Okay,
need to pay more attention when I'm reading those, I guess.
there we go. That's future homework, okay? Right, who else would like to share what they got and if it was surprising or not?
People don't know what stress is.
Say more about that.
So,
I would agree with
so
that.
my husband's a SWAT officer, so like, I
Okay.
mean, he was in a shooting 2 weeks ago, so it's like,
Mm,
that, like, those are just communications that we have daily. So
Yeah.
that's like not, like, this is stressful to you, that's hilarious, like, not to poo-poo it by any means, but just some things that people think are stressful, that's kind of like, oh, okay,
Right.
that's like daily life.
Right,
So, just,
When you're in charge of a fire and you have people inside and like.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
When you're cutting people out of cars that
Uh-huh.
are mangled, yeah, those kind of things.
Bus full of kids, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So just, yeah, first responder table over here, so just different,
right,
that's not stress,
right.
that's just life.
What did you get? What did yours?
I had 3 zeros,
Mhm,
and I was almost like rarely on everything,
mhm.
but the only one I got was withdrawing.
Mm,
So I could totally see that, like, I just rather not
Yeah.
type of thing, because probably what just happened, it's just like. So,
Okay. Barbara or Lisa, like to share?
I didn't take in it,
Okay,
so,
that's
but I
okay.
can tell you where I go when I'm stressed.
Yeah.
I'm really very impatient and either silence and just totally go into a different zone and. Or I can get really upset and just let it out and I'm done, so
Mhm,
it varies
mhm, mhm.
depending on how stressed and what else is happening, so.
Situation, maybe who's involved as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think in work environment, it's more control for me, cause I recognize where I'm at and,
Mhm,
but home probably is a total different
Mhm.
space.
mhm.
So it depending on my environment, I react differently.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Lisa?
At home,
Yeah.
I try not to have a teacher voice.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But I think with me, I think the biggest thing is tone. I can really talk to a lot of people about a lot of things, but that tone and the body language is what'll get me.
Mhm.
So as far as my scores, with the figure 1, silence was a 0 and violence was a 1. looking at this, because I didn't read the instructions first.
Mhm,
I did the first, because I didn't want to know what they meant,
mhm.
numbers. So I'm sitting there going, okay, I got zeros. Oh, twos, threes. I was like, okay, one's good and one's not. But on the 4-2 chart, I'm mostly threes. On 6, 7, and 9, I did get twos.
Mhm.
Everything else is 3.
Did any of that surprise you?
No, I'm not gonna say surprise me.
Mhm.
You know, I can go back to the figure 4-1. And one thing about that is because I did go back into the questions to look, how did I answer that?
Mhm.
Okay, and in a couple of the questions that I got a lower scale on, I had notes in here. So I was sitting there going, I could really did just a half a point on that.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Yeah.
I was pretty surprised,
Mhm.
you know. Not-
Gary, did you take it?
I did too.
Mhm.
I had zeros on the second part, the verbal violence breakdown. I'm rarely on the move to silence with this one in masking, which I think makes sense. Sometimes I get in discussions where I don't think me sharing how I really feel might be productive. I guess my biggest takeaway, kind of to dovetail on what Mark and Kathleen were saying, is, you know, this idea of stress. It is, lots of times I have conversations with teachers about, you know, when they're feeling stress, and, you know, be thankful, right? I don't have to ever get called to a domestic violence call and go in worried if I'm gonna come out alive. I don't have to, I'm not a pediatric, you know, oncologist telling a parent that their son has got 6 months to live. I don't have to, you know, I work inside and it's cold or hot sometimes, not always perfect. You know, I'm not out in the rain and the snow and the cold climbing up poles when there's a storm. So to be thankful for what, you know, all the positives of the work that we get to do. I definitely try to focus on that. I would say that, like, if I was taking this 10 years ago, it would have been a totally different,
Mm.
you know, over time, even on like the stress sides of things, it is impactful to, you know, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I just quit engaging on social media.
Mhm.
It is stressful to, you know, get death threat emails or, you know, personal attacks that my kids or wife have to read. I'm not saying the job isn't stressful, there's stressors to it, but I've just found ways to avoid those and, you know, focus on the work and be thankful that I'm not outside in the rain, that I don't have to tell some parent that their kid's dying.
Yeah.
That was my take.
Yeah. We will have another activity on that next time. I'm gonna ask you all to read the rest of the book for next time, because we don't need to get it until March, but I will also send sort of a recap and other stuff to do. You all answer those questions for next time. I'm gonna give you a little 5 minutes before your next meeting. Thank you for coming for that, for the TFS thing. That all got worked out. That's good work. And, thanks for having me. I'll see you in March.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Yeah.
It was good, it was fun, good done today.
Oh, nice.
Bit of change.
I did not.
I had read it 3 days. I rocked it.
All right, we're gonna call our meeting to order. It's now 6:30. On 6:30. We have a shared vision in the primary school district, provide excellence for every student so that each will reach their greatest potential. Thank you to the members of the public who have joined us. As a reminder, school board meetings and work sessions are meetings of the board held in public, providing an opportunity to observe the board's discussions and actions. In an effort to conduct official board business, we ask that the audience be respectful and refrain from questions, comments, unnecessary noise while the board conducts the meeting. There is an opportunity for citizen comments tonight, and the board look forward to hearing from those who signed up. I will share some reminders when we get to that portion of the meeting. Also, please note that all board meetings are live streamed and posted on the school board area of the website. And with that, we'll start our citizenship board.
Before I started, I found out that there was a dress up day, but I'm noticing that Jude and our 2 board reps went home and changed their clothes. Here we go. Jude Carmen, over here, was nominated by our staff as our citizen of the month. Jude is a stand-up student who helps create a positive environment for all students. He demonstrates every day what it means to be a dedicated student athlete in that order, working hard both in and out of school. He represents Elmira High School proudly and with respect. Jude is a student in film class and is a star. He's a great leader, incredibly empathetic, and an all-around wonderful person. Jude made great strides, including his running between junior and senior year, and shaved almost a minute off his cross-country PR, which is pretty amazing for anyone who isn't a runner. And Jude eats lunch in the library most days and always makes people feel included and welcome at his table. Most recently, he invited a brand new student to EHS to sit with him and his brother. Additionally, he is a genuinely nice kid whom this person enjoys chatting with during 7th period. They just don't get much better than you. Who do you want him to take the picture with? Hopefully it's not me.
By himself.
Okay.
He wants to take it with his head.
Are you gonna do it? All right. Then they need to do like.
Good job, Jude.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Congrats.
Subject.
All righty. There's no public comments this evening, so we will begin our monthly items. And that's the approval of minutes, and we can get that out. Motion on the minutes from last month.
Move we approve the minutes from the November 18th meeting as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Any discussion?
That's a good question.
Sure.
So last month, the board passed OSBA Resolution 2. And while the resolution passed, it took a while before there was a motion to let it pass. And I was just wondering if the board could describe why you might not make a motion to approve something, but then still end up voting yes for it.
You understand?
Well, I mean, I guess it just depends on, so specific to that or just overall, when you're talking in general? Well, I mean,
Either or, just, it took a while for a motion to happen, then we still got yes votes to pass it, I just didn't.
right, well, those are just a little confusing anyway, because it's something that we're voting on for the entire state. It was for the resolution, I think for the OSBA, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the Pride Caucus.
Right, so we have limited information. And so that's partly the reason, and sometimes people just don't make motions right away. I think it takes for a while for people to think about what they really want to do and how they want to vote on things.
I don't think it's something you wanna come out, just be like, let's do this right now, like, we have a lot of different facets to consider and think about, and we like to stew and make a knowledgeable decision rather than a split-second decision.
I think,
Okay.
no, that's fine, no, and on those, some people have more information depending on what information they got, like when they were at conference. You know, so like I went to the board meeting last year, I went to the board meeting this year, the last, 6 or 7 years, I've gone to the board meeting after the conference for the OSBA. And so, I mean, I might have a little more information, or depending on what people read that's put out by OSBA, they might have more information. So that's partly why. Why people would still vote yes on it is because I guess they trust what the other people think or say, and maybe that do have more information.
So I was gonna say, it's like, sometimes I don't wanna like step right out and make a motion, cause I kinda wanna see like what everybody else is thinking, and then like, if Lisa says I'm gonna make a motion, and then Mark goes second right away, I'm like, oh, okay, well, they feel good about it, then that should make me feel good about it as well.
One thing I will say about that is it didn't happen the way that we had planned. So as I can speak for myself, was a little bit put off when we were doing this.
I think he's
Not
talking
that-
about a different motion.
Yeah, different motion.
Yeah, he's talking
It
about
was an
the,
OSBA motion.
It was OSBA ones for the caucus, for voting for fee dues,
Oh,
that's what he's talking about.
yeah.
And then I did have a second part though. You voted no against the resolution. And
you know, you just tell her which one, cause she's probably not.
OSBA resolution 2,
Right from there.
it was the one about, I think, enacting a pride caucus or including that in OSBA.
No, wait, say that again, because there's two different things here. One is the Pride Caucus and the other one was their dues being raised.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I may have the wrong resolution, but I believe it was resolution 2.
Okay, so the dues is resolution 1. It was the bylaws.
Oh, okay.
It was the bylaws. And I can tell you, do you want to stick with number 2?
That's the one where this questioning came up from.
Okay. As far as with the bylaws, composition of board directors, did this have anything to do with Pride Caucus?
Mhm.
That's why. So the way I look at things is I really don't approve of too much that singles out one or any groups of people. When I do things, and I think that when we do things, that it should be including all people. So pretty much whenever this comes up, if it comes up for just Orientals or just whites or just anything like that, I'm not going to approve it.
That's kind of where my question came from though. You voted no, but then there wasn't like any discussion on it. So like you voted no, they voted yes, but there was never any like sharing of opinions from either side on it.
generally there's not, when there's motions and made, and there's discussion ahead of time, so there's a motion, a second, then discussion.
Yeah,
Sometimes there's discussion ahead of time before a motion, depending on what's being presented. So, but the time to discuss your points is during that discussion period after the second. And then there's a vote taken, and then that's it.
yeah,
So there won't be any explanation why anyone votes no or yes.
but there wasn't a discussion during that.
And
discussion.
sometimes if there's no discussion, that means they just don't have any questions, and they they have their mind made up, some of them may have their mind made up to vote yes, and that's just the way it is.
Okay.
Discussion is usually more like further clarification, not like, I
Not
voted
debating.
this way because of this. We don't have to articulate why we voted the way we voted.
Right.
And we shouldn't have to,
And you
but
should-
discussion is like, what do
Yeah.
you mean by that? Can you clarify that, please?
Or, we're not gonna try to convince someone to vote yes
Mhm.
in the during discussion.
Okay. That's
Sorry.
kind of where my question.
That's okay, I do want to go back to, so I bet you, if I'm remembering right, there was very little discussion about any of the motions.
I think there was some discussion on resolution 1 and at the resolution 2, it just took a while to pass.
Again, it was a little confusing,
Mhm.
so I was off.
Anything else? All right, so we'll take a vote to approve the minutes from last month. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
5-0. Okay, Ms. Corner on? All right, we'll turn over to our business office.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect, all right. All right, this is our December 1st enrollment report. Our current number is at 1,294, which is 10 over our budgeted number and 4 less than last month. We're pretty similar to where we were last year too. Last year on our December enrollment, we were at 1,306. At the elementary level, we're currently down 1 from our budgeted number. At the middle school level, we are up 28 and we are down 17 at the high school level. We also have 7 more out of district placements than we had projected in the budget. That is all I have on the enrollment report, unless the board has any questions.
Hearing none.
Okay. All right, so our general fund revenue and expense report as of November 30th, we have received 57% of our budgeted revenue. You'll see that we did start receiving our property taxes. We received over 4 million in November, and we'll continue to receive that through December. We have spent 28% of our operating expenditures, which is exactly where we were at this time last year. Does the board have any questions on the general fund revenue and expense report?
No, but thank you, Kwana.
it's good.
Yeah.
And this requires board action and we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the financial report from November.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Thank you. Okay, we'll have Fern and JT.
From past items in EHS, we held our holiday bazaar November 23rd. The literature wreath fundraiser had a great turnout, as well as the senior grad fundraiser, which raised a total amount of around $550.
Our sports teams as of Friday, boys basketball won a tournament in Coquille. Girls basketball have only lost 1 game on the season so far. And senior Zane Clemmer placed first in the heavyweight matchups for wrestling, and the team placed second in their home wrestling meet.
We're still having some college visits to EHS for juniors and seniors. And on December 10th, we have the Pacific Northwest College of Art, which is in Portland, and students had the opportunity to go see their art programs at the school.
Starting this week, we started with our holiday spirit week. Explains a Spaniard car over there. EHS leadership has planned the Spirit Week, which kicked off today with Winter Morning, Pajama Day, and we'll continue with Ugly Sweater Day tomorrow. Too Cool for School, which is essentially like snow gear, on Wednesday, Holiday Accessories on Thursday, and Red versus Green on Friday, which is partnered with a assembly that'll make Red versus Green face off with each other.
The EHS Kid Club is holding food drive, which will be available until December 18th, and all the food collected would go to local churches and the community.
Senior grad, or the seniors have another fundraiser for grad night. They are selling Papa's Pizza Parlor coupon sheets through December 20th to collect funds for their grad night. Essentially just have a bunch of little sheets and they go around selling whole sheets of coupons.
For future sports, basketball at East Lane Christian tomorrow, boys basketball versus Horizon Christian on Friday. We have some basketball tournaments. The nearest one is December 21st, which will be held at Portland's Moda Center. Girls Varsity Basketball Tournament at Gladstone on January 3rd and 4th. And for wrestling, we have a competition at Sweet Home on Wednesday and a tournament on Saturday at State Home.
NHS just concluded its yearly Adopt a Family program this week. Each fourth period class at EHS did a great job collecting gifts and money for each of their recipients. More than $2,000 in cash and gifts were raised. Mrs. Irwin's fourth period class brought in about half of that amount. So they won for the most donated. Gifts are expected to be wrapped by NHS students and delivered by the end of this week before winter break. In total, we're helping 16 individuals, which is 4 families.
In addition to the other college visit, LCC is going to visit this Wednesday for people interested in the community college. And lastly, we have drama club performances. The EHS Drama Club is holding a drama performance called In 25 Words or Dead, which the premise is a group of context prize winners get more than they sign up for when the lodge they're staying is seemingly haunted and a murder takes place. Will they get off the island alive? Come and see our winter production after break. This one will be held on January 23rd and 24th at 6 p.m. at the EHS Theater, and on January 25th at 2 p.m. in the EHS Theater.
Thank you. Good job. All right, we're on to our Fern Ridge Education Association, Mr. Cooper.
Hi, you get me this week. Jennifer's taking the month off. Forrest Cooper, Fern Ridge Education Association. So we have a PowerPoint and I'll just mention slide changes. So we, the Elmira and Benita, both elementary schools, you can go to the next one, have had canned food drives along with the high school, middle school. Everybody does that. Elmira Elementary had a little competition to go with it to kind of spur that, which made it fun. This is an assembly they had, father-daughter go there, and they actually did trivia as well about music around the world, and just made it interesting. So just an assembly they had recently. Students got some prizes for answering questions. Benita, you can go there. They've been pretty busy this season as well. And they practiced and were singing for the annual tree lighting celebration. So that was kind of a cool opportunity, and the celebration was fun, and then also accepted donations. They had their Santa project this last weekend. I don't know if you've been over there, but it's a busy place when they have their Santa project. Also on the next slide, classes are completing daily to see who can do the cans, also at Benita. They mentioned the math committee, project measuring their feet to see what it would be like. What was a foot and what was the problem with that? Well, this is actually the previous slide, but anyway. What was the problem with just using a person's foot to measure a foot? And that everybody had different sizes, your kindergartners, different size than a fourth grader. And so they had some fun just trying to measure out how many feet different things were. Middle school staff holiday party potluck. I know the high school also had theirs last week. And they have a couple things coming up. I like the balloon thing because it's easier to read. The volleyball game is at 1:40 on Friday. So I don't know what you're doing at 1:40 for entertainment, but that's a student staff volleyball. They usually have a lot of fun with that. It's also School Spirit Week over there. And they have also a kindness booster assembly on the 20th. So kind of pushing the holiday spirit. And they have a dance coming up in January. That's on there. And then they also have this teen gift drive that they do within the school. And then the middle school, there's a couple things I want to mention. I used to run the adoptive family, and I just want to laud you guys, students, for the money that you guys collected and gave out. And I know that you won't all get to deliver it and see it, but I have to tell you, delivering those things is an amazing experience because these are needy families and they really appreciate it. And the most appreciated thing I ever delivered when I was running it was a tiny little miniature Christmas tree that this little girl was so excited about. She didn't care about that bag full of toys. She wanted that little tree. And that was pretty cool. Also, there's a couple things coming up at the high school. I don't know if you guys mentioned this. I don't think so, but there's a theater play. High school theater is coming up, and that's on 24th, 5th, and 26th of January. So it'll be at the end of the semester. And I think that Sunday one is a matinee. And then also there's a winter concert coming up, and I don't think this is on the slide, but it's on the 9th. We have a variety of talents, including an award-winning cello player, student. So we have, it'll be an interesting variety of music on the 9th. And then they already reported on the adoptive family, so we'll move on. I wanted to give you some stuff from OEA NEA because, and that's partly why I'm here. The legislative season is coming. OEA supports our local legislature. We lobby the legislature for funding for education every time they have a long session as well as a short session. But we always have a lobby day for the long session, and that's coming up on February 17th. If you wanted to go, I wouldn't say no. I'd be great with that. Let's go together. Happens to be President's Day, so if we don't get any snow and ice, it's cool. I wanted to highlight some prior wins that we've had with the legislature. The student investment account, which, as you know, is $2 billion, but there about $1 billion of that is really earmarked for K-12. And that's our mental behavioral health needs and our increasing academic achievement. I bet Mrs. Marshall is all over that grant.
Yes.
Right? And also it has an equity ladder for disadvantaged populations that it supports. For example, multilingual students and students with disability, homeless foster kids, kids in poverty, BIPOC populations. And so those are just some things that that's just a win that we got. We often get a current service level budget through the legislature. We set up the QEM goal long ago. We've never even come close to meeting it, but it is nice to have a goal out there to say, hey, there's some kind of standard that says this would be excellent if everybody had it. And so we can keep reaching for that. The NEA stopped the cutting of funding for Head Start, and we have a Head Start at the district now, so I thought that would be worth mentioning. And also, of course, student debt relief. We have a lot of new teachers in NEA support student debt relief so much they even have their own process website app for student teachers to help them navigate the system, which can be complicated. I wanted to just mention our legislators because they are new, having redrawn the map not too long ago, 4 years ago. Okay, anyway, it's wild. So Fahey and Manning are really this east side of our county. The west side of our county are Wright and Anderson, basically central, no tie, all the way up to territorial where I live on Arnold Lane. My representative is Boomer Wright and Dick Anderson. They both live in Coos Bay. But they are more conservative, and that region of our district is more conservative and more adequately represented with a more conservative constituency. And so that's kind of where they are. These guys matter because we really wanted, if there's something before them, and I'm sure there will be in a long session that you guys care about, you know, that's who you really want to talk to. We are their constituents. I wanted to mention the Portland and Albany settlement. They had their strikes. It was about class size, fair compensation, and respect. You know, in Fern Ridge, we had a strike in 1999. It was not fun. I would never want to go on strike. And I've tried really hard, and I'm really proud of the culture that we built here of trust and respect between our association and between the board, and with the board and the superintendent and the district. Strikes don't happen because people don't feel like they're getting paid enough or because of class size. They don't. Because they can work things out if they trust each other. They happen because and I've seen it in Albany in particular, because I've been working with Albany since 2016. They have had a long history of problems. Strikes happen over time as the relationship breaks down. So I hope, I'm outgoing, but I hope that the board and the association can continue to work together and try to solve problems amicably and be forward thinking about solving. So thank you for your efforts in helping make that happen, and I hope it keeps going. And the winners are these guys, perfect students.
Mark, you have a question?
Oh, no.
Right, thank you, Mr. Cooper. Ms. Marshall.
Okay, yeah, hopefully you guys have looked through all this because it's just a lot of text, but I wanted to be available to answer any questions and give just kind of a brief update. I sent an email to everyone with what we pushed out in October and what we pushed out in November. This is Senate Bill 732, which is an equity advisory committee, different than like a district equity team, which we have in place. This has some unique rules and stipulations to it. And so that makes it a little bit trickier. It has to have students, parents, guardians, staff, and community members. They have to be primarily our underrepresented families. So I'll be hoping that we have people that identify with a SPED, a special education, IEP, ELL, students experiencing homelessness, low income, students of color, groups that don't necessarily have a voice at the table. And essentially their charge and what the district is charged to do is to have them meet. There cannot be a school board member on it. There cannot be a superintendent on it. So I'm not quite sure who's going to facilitate this group or how they're going to get support, but it's looking like what the bigger districts are doing is they're having the person that's either the equity director or somebody in my position facilitate. So I wouldn't necessarily have a role in the committee, but I would help get them the information that they need, help them communicate with the board, help them communicate with the superintendent. And essentially their job is to look at policy. And what policies are we adopting? What policies do we have in place that are either old and outdated and the language is inappropriate? what policy are we adopting that maybe doesn't include different perspectives? So if the school district's under 10,000 like us, we have until September of 2025 to get this in place. And you have to, there's a couple different things you have to do. You have to have an application process. It's best practice to have a rubric, which I sent you both of those templates. If you guys have any thoughts or opinions, let me know because they're somewhat draft. But my goal is to push this out, social media, our website, Parent Square, post some flyers, whoever I can, all of our community partners, in January. And then leave it open January, February, March. And then once we get all the applications, we'll have a rubric that we black out the names and then we go through and we score based on their application and hopefully we find our team. Let me think if there's anything else I want you to know. Over summer, I'm hoping that we can do some sort of professional learning around this for them because while a district like Eugene or Springfield might have people knocking down their doors to participate, I don't know if that's gonna happen here. I hope it does. But I'm nervous that people will feel nervous to take on this role. So what can we do to support them, help them understand what their job is and not make it so overwhelming? And again, that's challenging. Our district equity team, I've been sharing all of this information with them as well. And they're like, just make the language not as scary. Make it not sound so intimidating. It's like, well, that's really hard. So I've tried to not make it too just, I don't know, tried to make it easy to understand what the job is, but also it's a big job. So I want people to understand that role too. Hopefully our first meeting will kick off in September. It has to, of 2025. And then we're thinking that we'll probably start slow. Most school districts are doing either quarterly or 3 times a year. So like a fall, winter, spring. I'm also hoping that they'll work kind of alongside our district equity committee because we're just starting to do some like good work. And I don't want to diffuse one team because this other team, you know, so trying to figure out how they can come together.
They can be on the committee, correct?
Well, a district equity committee person could apply.
Right.
And the goal would be to have 2 students, 2 staff, 2 parents or guardians, and 2 community members. The other caveat is that somebody from this committee has to be on the budget committee. And didn't we already elect our budget
There's a
committee?
position open.
Right, okay. So then the other piece with that is,
And not staff.
yes, and if it doesn't happen this round, it just has to be a targeted thing that we try to do next time. So lots of different pieces to try to, you know, when you're pushing this out to the community, you're like, hey, I need you on this committee, but you also have to serve on this other committee. No pressure. So those are just some things about that one. Any questions? There's a lot to it, but we're just trucking along.
I'm gonna hold off.
Hold off on what? Oh, okay. Yeah, if you read through it and have any questions, feel free to reach out. A lot of our draft language and documents, Springfield shared with us because they're one of the closer districts that have this in place and going. So I'm thankful to them and Taylor. Is this the rest of my report? Because I didn't see community input survey on there anywhere. And I wanted to just share that. I said I would just share it in my report, a brief one.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully you guys also got that. I sent an email with an outline of, it's our 3rd year doing our community engagement survey. It looks like this. And what I did was I took the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions, and we're now in year 3. So the exciting part about this is to be able to see growth over time, to see our responses over time, and just starting to see the patterns and growing. So our first year that we did this, we only had 165 responses. This year we had 214. Every single year it has trended up, which is awesome. And just feeling good about the work that we're doing. And then, so our students took theirs last week and the week before. So this one was open the previous weeks. And if there's any questions about this, feel free to email me or you can ask me next month too. This will just be one component of when we go to write our integrated plan, which has community engagement, it has student input, it has community partners,
It has staff feedback, a needs assessment at each building, all of the things. So, let me think if there's any other things. Curriculum, we're continuing to work through our health. What we're gonna do there, we're gonna go to a health summit. I'm taking a team of a couple. It's January 6th, which is our first day back from winter break. So that's really hard for teachers. So I'm definitely going. And then I think another admin, and I might get a middle school and a high school rep there. So let's see here. Student input surveys, I'll give you guys a summary at the next school board meeting in January. For the middle school and the high school, it's very similar. So you can see the growth over time for the 3 years or the like movement. We're starting to plan our 3rd annual Heart of the Community engagement event. That's where last we hosted that at Benita Elementary. Last year, we had over 20 community partners there. It was awesome. We're also working with ODE and thinking about how best to use it in term assessments. And then another exciting thing that we're starting is we have a team getting ready to attend a student and school safety community of practice that Laney SD is hosting. So essentially it's staff, admin, and you go and there's 3 different sessions. The first session is kind of like looking at tier 1, what's your whole school environment to help students feel safe and a sense of community. Then the next 2 meetings are deeper level, tier 2, tier 3. So I think that'll be exciting. We haven't had that opportunity in the past. And that's all I got. Yeah.
Thank you. We're on to superintendent.
5 things. The first board is informational, and then I need a decision on 1 thing. First topic is trees. We're gonna be cutting down some trees. So typically, we don't have board policy on cutting down trees. What I've done in the past is there has been times when I think the last time I did come to the board for action, they were a more significant tree. They were a large tree, older oak trees. There were some of the ones along the sidewalk when we did the last bond. And just because there was lots of discussion in the community, it came to the board for a decision. Lots of times we cut down trees for other reasons. If I ever felt like there was some kind of special tree, I might bring it to you, but I'm just putting this on your radar. So for example, we're working with some of the property owners on the north side of the Elmira School track. There's trees just across the fence that we need to trim up as a result of that athletic complex work. There's a couple trees on our side of the fence, kind of behind the kitchen where the fire access is going to go that we have to take out. We're considering the tree in front of the middle school, taking it out for 2 reasons. 1, last year, a big limb broke off of it. We've had it looked at. They said it's not healthy. 2, one of our bond projects, we hope to get a covered area out there in front of the middle school so kids waiting before school or after school have a dry spot to be. I think that's it. So just know, I'm just putting that on your radar, kind of what I use to, there could be an instance, let's say for some reason we need to take down some of those big oaks in front of Elmira Elementary. That might be something I come to discuss some approval on, but for things like this, really I don't. So we're working on kind of 2 projects. 1, we're gonna have some trees removed with bond dollars because they all are affecting the bond. And then 2, we have 2 trees. I actually met a timber faller today to kind of look at one with me. We had a quote to remove it for 10 grand. I wanted to see if he could do it cheaper. There's a house adjacent to Elmira Elementary on this side, and it's leaning heavily towards his house, and he's worried about it. So he's been talking to us about a couple years. So those, if we take them out, I'll be using our facilities reserve dollars, but anyways, I just wanted to update you on that. Job fairs, we've been in the process in the last week or 2 of registering for a couple. Last year was the first year we really went to several. We're gonna continue that this year. The larger one in the state of Oregon is in Salem. Breeze registered us for that. And then there's a local one in U of O where all the U of O teachers go to, and we're going to attend that as well. At the last board meeting, or maybe it was 2 ago, I asked for the authority to continue to investigate purchasing the property south of Benita Elementary for parking lot expansion. Just know I've signed an agreement with a local realtor. They're reaching out to the trust that owns that property, so it's continuing to move forward. And, you know, we have all our various bond projects going on. The first project that is coming back with a cost estimate is actually the high school athletic facility. And I have a Zoom meeting tomorrow to get that. So that's exciting. It'll be the first time we'll get to see, okay, you budgeted, for example, 6.5 and our estimate is 7.2. Again, maybe it'll come down right within the budget. I'm not sure if it comes down over. Then when we meet with the larger group, we'll talk about the options that we need to consider to reduce the cost. So should have more information by the Friday update email I'll send you on how close we are in that first kind of cost estimate on that. And the thing I needed some decision on, I think Bree had sent you an email. I received communication from OSBA on one of you, in fact, it turned out it was Lisa, had applied for a scholarship for OSBA training, and we got that. It's a $1,500 scholarship. The key is it has to be spent by June. So my question is, do we want to just use that to offset some of the stuff we're already doing with Kristen around board development? Or is there something else that maybe you intended to do or that other boards would want to do with this?
I didn't give much thought after I applied for it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But what I was thinking is, finding out how much does it cost for Kristen? Where are we at? What I wanted to try to do is some kind of a team building event.
Well, as far as costs for Kristen, what she's costs, I can get you that. It's more than the $1,500 for all her 3 times in that survey and everything. So if we use the grant for what Kristen's doing already with the Crucial Conversations book, it will, I bet it would pay for 80% of it, maybe 70%. That's just off the top of my head. If you want to do something else, the key is it's got to be spent by June, so we don't have a lot of time. So for now, I mean, maybe you guys think about it, and I just need to know, am I going to offset the cost from her, or does somebody want to take a lead? And then it would require discussion amongst you guys to what that would look like, what you want to do in April or May, probably, I assume.
I'm actually fine with, taking care of Kristen OSBA.
Oh, mine.
Good job.
I think that's it.
Okay,
Thank you, Brenda.
saves us $1,500.
Thanks, Lisa.
All right, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Alrighty, our discussion topic, SB 732, update and application.
Yeah, that's what Michelle talked about before. So.
Okay. Alright, we did that second reading.
But we need to,
Yeah, I think Kristen wanted us to take board action on 8B, so it was 5, 3, and 2, right?
right,
Yeah, so we need a motion on those 3.
Okay,
well,
we'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we use standards 5, 3, and 2, 5 communication and community relations, 3 inclusive district culture, and 2 ethics and professional norms for the targeted feedback survey that will be used as part of the superintendent's evaluation.
Oh, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Andrea?
Your mic is off, Andrea. You can hear us.
You there, Andrea?
Sorry. Yes, I say aye.
Aye.
I say aye.
5-0. Right. 8C, and that's our second reading of proposed policy updates.
So I have a question on the fingerprinting, on page 3-5. near the middle of the page, a volunteer that is not likely to have direct unsupervised contact with students as determined by the district will not be required to submit an in-state criminal records check. Gary, can you give me an example of
Sure.
a volunteer?
Sure, parent wants to come in and, just help out in the, or maybe even sit and observe their kindergarten classroom teacher for a little bit. We don't make them do a background check, they're just in the class with the teacher with kids, they don't get assigned a group, so. Unsupervised access would be more like, we're going on a field trip and mom, Miss Pizzola's, has her group of 6 kids. They would be able to do that, but they could come into our school, and be around kids, but not have unsupervised access.
Okay,
Birthday party, something like that.
all right. Thank you for the clarification.
I do actually have a question on that. Do the teachers know whether volunteers have had that checked on?
Yes,
So
So we have a
who can and who can't?
yeah, we have you correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a shared Google Drive that each building has, so Benita Elementary can pull up their parent, when a parent comes in and says, hey, I want to volunteer, secretary goes to the correct folder, looks up, your name's Susie Q, oh, yep, you're approved this year, good to go. If they're not, then they give them the paperwork, turn it to Bree, and Bree adds their name to the list.
Right, but what I was asking is, do the teachers?
They have access to it too.
Okay.
So would the
Access.
office, go ahead, Lisa.
They have access to it, but we don't know if they're actually reading it.
Well, the teacher knows that if teacher Gary's going on a field trip, I'm checking that list to make sure all my parents going on the field trip are approved.
The board action?
Yes.
All right, need a motion for this policy update? Any question, any additional questions before? No, okay. Can we make a motion on this one?
I make a motion to approve the GCDA, GDDA, G12 as proposed policy update.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and a discussion, any additional discussion? All right, all in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Okay, personnel. Okay. Your bullet study, no new or transfers or. Okay, so there's some late items, I think. No late items either. We have a long list of upcoming events, so we can review, and we also have anything that we've done in the community that we want to share. We're missing that. Anyone?
I want to recognize Mark. He spends a lot of time in that high school gym sitting at that clock. And so just thanks for
Thank you, Mark.
doing that for all the home games.
Is that clock like missing some lights?
The
Because
shot clock, you have the
Yes,
bank of lights
I-
already missing
I
after
was
a year.
really upset last week when I thought they were changing the score. And then we realized that the lights were,
The clock doesn't, but
Not
the
the
shot clock,
the
35-second clock.
In the
No.
little gym or the big gym?
at the high school where, not the main gym.
Oh,
I don't know, maybe.
Where the scoreboard is, the scoreboard actually, not the shot.
In defense of whoever was doing the clock, it probably wasn't operator here, so. It wasn't me.
It wasn't you,
I mean, I've only been doing this my 19th year doing it, so.
okay,
But I do make mistakes.
okay,
No,
I'm
my wife,
the shot clock, I'm the substitute shot clock runner and trust me, when you run the shot clock, you get yelled at a lot.
okay. I was trying to remember on the board, because I'm like, come on, change that score.
If you need me, I'll be in Elmira Elementary Gym, coaching 17 different things.
Oh, sweet.
Where I've been for the last, 3 months?
Let's see you.
Soccer, volleyball, baseball, pick one anyway.
All right, we will adjourn if we have nothing further. You guys have a fabulous holiday.
Merry Christmas,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, JT, for.
Good job, guys.